Well, good morning, BookTube, and welcome to another edition of Friday Reads. I am Bill Ruttenberg, and this is the Ruttenberg Library. And come to you this morning and wanted to tell you a little bit about the week, how life is going, and then how is my reading going. So this week we've had just absolutely beautiful weather. It's been great. We finally feels like summer. It doesn't feel like second winter. Baseball started for us this week. We got to start that here in Iowa on June 1st, so Monday, and we've had, just like I said, absolutely beautiful weather, nothing but sunshine. And so if you start to see sunburns or stuff like that on me, that's the reason why. I know the last two nights we've been up near 90, the high 80s and towards 90 degrees, and especially on Wednesday, because we go a little bit earlier on Wednesday because we try to let the kids out early so they can get to any of their church functions that they might want to do. But so we go a little bit early, so it was hotter in the day, and I know I got home and like chugged 4 glasses of water. I was so I got probably a little hotter than I thought I'd gotten. But that's been interesting, with being able to do baseball. We've had a lot of precautions that we've had to do, and we're having to spray down equipment after practice, before and after practice, and we're having to that's with like a disinfectant type stuff that's been recommended. We've had to take temperatures before any of the kids participate in anything to make sure they don't have the high temperature, and if they do, we got to send them home. We've of course, doing social distancing. The kids have to stay 6 feet apart. So that's made us have to yell a little bit at practice because the group is spread out a little further. But anyway, it's been really good to see the kids get back together. That's been fun. We've actually seen that the kids are a whole lot more focused. I think they realize what it's like to not be able to get together. And they're just taking advantage of their time being together and the camaraderie and everything. And so I'm hoping that this, our experiment here in Iowa with baseball, I'm hoping this is going to go well. I think if everybody follows all of the guidelines, I think it will. I think we're going to be all right. That's my wishful thinking anyway. And so far so good. But like I said, week's been going good. It seems like we're ahead of schedule with our baseball. Oh, by the way, they are working outside across the road. They're replacing some concrete in one of the driveways, and so if you hear a whole lot of noise, almost sounds like a chainsaw. I believe that's not a chainsaw. I believe that is the concrete cutter. So anyway, they've been pouring concrete and stuff, trying to redo some drives. But that's going on. So if you hear that noise, just ignore it. Anyway, let's see. We had a lot of kids out with our baseball, so I've been pretty excited about that. Looking forward to a real good year. We got great attitudes. Let's see. Right here at home, we've had a lot of fun here at home. If you saw my Instagram shots, I think last week we did the picture of the cemetery, where our cemetery has a great big old loop, and if you do the full thing, it's like 3/4 of a mile. And so we've been taking my youngest daughter out there with her. She got a tricycle for her birthday, and so she's been taking her tricycle out there, and it's fairly flat, and she's been practicing riding it as my wife and I are walking. And so that cemetery shot was, that's what we were doing that evening. Matter of fact, we're going to do that this morning when everybody gets out of bed, I believe, and after everybody gets breakfast, we're going to go do that. So and then yesterday I posted a picture. This was great. My youngest was my wife found online this deal where you take you take paper, you fold it into a circle and put it over the doll's head, and if you cut it, it's like hair. And we're trying to find things to work on, little skills, fun ways to work on skills with my youngest daughter, and of course, the fine motor movements when you're doing scissors. And so we did that little hair thing with the dolls, and of course she had them in the high chair, and then she started giving them all haircuts. And so we've done that the last 2 days. Katie's obsessed with that, and so that's been a lot of fun. So if you see funny photos, that's what that is. Let's see here. We've been still doing a lot of walks. That's one of Katie's favorite activities, and it is just so much fun to watch kids when they're young and out in nature. You know, they're so observant. She loves to study ant hills. I don't know what her obsession with ants is, but she goes out on the sidewalks out in our yard, the sidewalks that go down to the street, and she'll be on the sidewalk and she looks at all the little ant hills, and she just studies them, and it's just fun. And she comes up with all kinds of questions. And over on the side of our yard, there's this gigantic mound where there's just a ton of ants, and she had a pretty good time studying that as well. And then on one of our walks, we were studying the birds and big birds versus small birds, and all that kind of stuff. And it's just a lot of fun to watch kids grow up. I mean, we don't want them to ever grow up. I'd like to keep her my baby forever, but it's just fun watching those stages. And so anyway, here this week we've been over here at the Ruttenberg Library. We've been reading some pretty big chunkers, or at least a couple of these are good-sized chunkers, and it's no different than last week's. There's not going to be a whole lot as far as books. There's not a whole lot of difference other than I got farther in them. I've been working on The Drifters by James Michener. This book, let's see, I'm now 452. I've been reading it at night in bed, which I hardly ever do because I fall asleep. But this book has really started to pick up pace. And and of course these are like 60 to 80 page chapters. They're ginormous. And the last couple chapters have been about, of course, if you don't remember from last week, it's based, in the late 60s, and it's what I would call the hippie era, the young people who are, trying to find their way. And one of the main characters all of these characters, all six of the main young people in this have all went to Europe, and they're drifting. I mean, they're just trying to find their way and experimenting, all kinds of stuff. And so it's talking about some of the young people looking at the history of these places, the camaraderie between the young people and whatever, a lot of distrust with the older population. And of course, this last chunk that we've been talking, or that I read about, was they went into Portugal, and some little town in Portugal, and they've been and they were already doing a little bit of this in Spain in the previous spot they were in, but they've been experimenting with drugs, LSD and stuff like that. And the main narrator of the book is an older man who has a connection to all six of the basically college age kids. I think one of them's actually like 17, I think. So there is one real pretty young, and then the rest of them are like college age. And so he's giving his, you're seeing two perspectives here, the young people's perspective and the older generation's perspective through the narrator. And, he's on a friendly basis with all six of them, and he's trying to give his advice, and some of them are not wanting to listen at all. And, they were talking about LSD, and he's like, I wouldn't do that if I was you, because he's had previous experience with other drugs. And, and he's really worried about how those drugs lead to bigger and harsher drugs. And the young people are like, well, how do you know? You haven't tried it. We're going to try it. You found out for yourself. Why can't we find out for ourselves? And, just stuff like that is what this last chunk has been about. And it's interesting. It's really picking up pace, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I'm glad I went back to Michener and gave this another try. And so I don't know when I'll get it finished. I'm just kind of taking it a little chunk after little chunk, and yeah. So the next book that I read the first chapter of was Re-electing Lincoln, the Battle for the 1864 Presidency. I'm not far enough in to really tell you much about this. Like I said, I take that back. I didn't even read the first chapter. I read the prologue, A Walk to the Telegraph Office. And it's just talking about Lincoln. It was a lot of the preparation stuff for what's been going on in late 1863 into 1864 as they head towards that election. And so I didn't get far enough in that to really tell you much, but I meant to get a little further, but I've had some distractions this week. Wednesday I didn't read it all. This morning I did not read it all, and which is very abnormal for me. I usually read for at least a couple hours in the morning, and I've had stuff come up that's like, I tried to sit down this morning with this book and this next one, and I couldn't concentrate. But anyway, let's talk about this next one. So I'm doing, with Remembered Reads and some other people on BookTube, I'm doing a read-along, The Bully Pulpit, Theodore Roosevelt, William Howard Taft, and the Golden Age of Journalism by Doris Kearns Goodwin. Excellent book. I think got the first 3 chapters done, I think. Is it the first 3? Let's see here. Almost the first 3. Yeah, I was almost done with the first 3. I should be 5 chapters in now. I was going to do it like 1 chapter at a time, but over at Remembered Reads, they're going to do like, I think 4 chapters a week is what it sounds like. And so I'm not too far off. I can catch up. And they're going to be doing a chat on Voxer. I am not familiar with Voxer. I don't know that I've ever used that before. So I got to figure out how to do that. So all you people that are doing the read-along with Remembered Reads, I hope I can pop into the discussion. I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out. Is it on the phone or is it on the computer? And is it Voxer walkie-talkie? When I was looking up apps, I was trying to figure this out. And then, of course, once I get on there, I don't know that I'm going to even know how to use it. So anyway, in the process of figuring that out, I think I'm going to go up to the school this morning and talk to my tech guy and see if he can help me out. But anyway, I am almost 3 chapters done with this book, and it's been really good. The reason I like it is I have never really read anything on just William Howard Taft. I've had a few things in passing just because I've read a couple things on Theodore Roosevelt, but it was nothing in detail. H.W. Brands' book on Theodore Roosevelt talked about the friendship that was really took a hit between Roosevelt and Taft when the 1912 election came around, and Roosevelt created the Bull Moose Party, the Progressive Party, and he talked a little bit about that, but he never gave any of the background for Taft. And of course he wouldn't, because it was a Roosevelt biography, so of course he's not. So I am learning some of the background of William Howard Taft and where his political career began and his legal career began, and it is very interesting. As I said, I'd never ever read anything on him, and I didn't know anything about his background, and it's quite interesting. I don't know how much I want to say without doing the chat with the others, so I'm going to kind of hold off on that, but it's just been going through their childhood and then how they got into the legal professions, and then of course it's going to lead up to their friendship and how that affects, well, U.S. politics really. So anyway, that's what I've been reading this week, and I plan on reading the same thing next week, and I don't know how far I'll get. Hopefully, I would love to get Missioners, the Drifters done. I don't know that I'll get it done, though. I still have there's still a pretty good chunk left to read. But they're all good. It's good, and I'll share with you what I read about them. And I hope everybody out there is having a good week and reading some good books. I've been watching some good videos. When I've been distracted, I've been going to the video and watching that, and saw a couple good book hauls by David Murphy, and those were interesting, and kind of jealous of a couple of the books he picked up for dirt cheap. Good book haul. And I've watched some book tags, several book tags, and I am going to be uploading. Look forward to the last 2 bookshelf tours. They are, almost all of them are fiction books from the downstairs library here, and I'll be doing those probably, I'm guessing Saturday, Sunday, and then I'm going to be working on a book tag. Josh over at Literary Gladiators tagged me in the 25th edition of the foodie tags, the pie tag, And so I got to think of my answers for that. And that's what my week looks like. And I hope everybody, like I said, I hope everybody's got good books to read. Stay safe, BookTube. Have a great day. Thank you for watching.